Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a DFS strategy video for the 2020 Tour Championship. Now, I'm sure you've heard just about everything throughout the industry. Should you take this tournament seriously? Should you back away, play less lineups, play more lineups? This video is going to be concentrated more on really just getting down to the nitty-gritty. Like, I'm going to go full in on this. So if you're the personality type that's just kind of doing this willy-nilly, like, I don't know what to tell you. I will have timestamps in the description so you can get to any part of the video that you enjoy the most or that you think will help you out the most. But really, I think this is the greatest time to either just blindly put in lineups or, really do a deep dive, which I'm going to do in this video. But first, before we get into the video, what I want to do is remind you guys that we have a spreadsheet that's free. Chad Ecker and I from the Fantasy Golf Pod have created a spreadsheet together. We collabed together, and it has a bunch of good pieces of information on here. So, when you're making your lineups, your little last tweaks, come back here. Take a look. See the different types of stats that we have on here. See the different types of notes that we have on here. We have notes going all the way through. Basically ancillary notes. I believe Chad grabbed a lot of this off of the PGA Media website. But we also have our own notes down in our own tabs down here. So you can see Fantasy Golf Pod, SweetSpotDFS. So I have, my own notes. I also have the bucket system over here. I have course history, recent form, overall Bermuda average. Chad has basically his notes, his power ranking, based off his DK value. But yeah, you can come here, grab any piece of this information that you find interesting, and use it to your advantage. It's for you guys. And also, please leave as much feedback as possible. We would enjoy that. Let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheet though. So again, we're at the Tour Championship. We're on Bermuda grass. I typically go over the bucket system at this point in time, which I'm going to, but I'm going to say this. With the staggered start, it's really difficult to use the bucket system religiously. Prior to this, I probably would, looking at all the different, basically all the different results throughout the years, I definitely would use the bucket system. It's a perfect time to use a bucket system because there are only 30 people in this field. However, because of the staggered start, it's really difficult to say one bucket's better than another. It's basically based off a salary. So what I will say, we will go over this, but very quickly. When we look at our last year bucket, we see more golfers who did not play the year before finish inside the top 5 as well as the top 10. You can see it right here. This is your top 10. 44% of golfers that finished inside the top 10 over the last 6 years have not played the year before. The next bucket that would follow would be golfers who finished 11th to 15th the year before. Now, I have these buckets broken up a little differently than what I typically do. Usually it's 20 and below, then 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and so on and so forth. But we only have 30 people in the field. We basically, during every Tour Championship, we only have 30 people. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. That's why I have 1 through 5, 6 through 10. It's a good way to narrow it down a little bit more and really dig into who we want to play. Because if you can see, the majority of our golfers, we have 30. Making sure the math is correct. And then 39. So 30 golfers finished top 20 the year before. 39 either did not play or finished over 20 the year before. So, and that's throughout the last 6 years. That's why I had to break it down. Otherwise, we wouldn't really have too many buckets. We'd have 3. Anyways, so your first bucket, golfers who did not play the year before. Your second bucket are golfers 11 to 15. Third bucket, this is last year bucket, by the way. 1st through 5th, believe it or not. And then it's 6th through 10th. So we can still use this to our advantage. We can target golfers for different price tags and use the last year bucket, what we see here. The last week bucket, though, is primarily golfers that finish inside the top 40 are the majority of the golfers who finish inside the top 10. So when we look at results from last week, basically you want your top 20 golfers. Nearly 64% of golfers who finished inside the top 10 at the Tour Championship had a top 20 finish the week before. There's usually only 70 golfers the week before, so, you know, it's still a good, what would you call it? A good range of golfers. And I can't think of my science terms. It's a good sample size. 70 golfers, top 20 finishes, 64% finish inside the top 10 at the Tour Championship. It's a pretty good number. So we will definitely want to target those golfers. I would typically go into bucket combinations as well, but again, with the staggered start, it is impossible. It is very difficult to really look at this seriously. We can look at 2019. I mean, the only constant is seeing all these 1-1s that have finished inside the top 10. And it is very interesting this week because we have most of our 1-1s are down at the bottom of the salary leaderboard. So maybe it's a good tell, but in all honesty, I really don't know. Like if we look at 2019, your 6th place guy was a 1-1 and then your 9th place guy was a 1-1. So let's go 2019. Our 6th place guy was Adam Scott. And then our 9th place guy was Kevin Kisner. And then their price tags were, Kisner was 6,600, so that's awesome. And then Adam Scott was 8,200. If we look to see who those guys are on the 2020 DK page, so we have the bucket system right here. If we look at 1-1s, we have Brendan Todd, which probably a good choice to pick. We have Sebastian Munoz, Joaquin Niemann, Lanto Griffin, again, not bad. And then Mackenzie Hughes, who is starting at the very bottom of the leaderboard, really, with the staggered start. So you can see I have it sorted by that staggered start. So 10th place, or not 10th place, 1st place is 10 under. As we go down, it gets to even. That's where you're going to find Mackenzie Hughes. But really, we have 5 golfers that are 1-1s in this field. It's likely one of them will finish inside the top 10. And it's doable that 2 will finish inside the top 10. We do see multiples, including last year, finish. So obviously Tony Finau 8,200 could be your Brendan Todd at 7,600. Kisner was 6,600. We got a bunch of guys that are in the 6K range, or even 5K range. So Brendan Todd, Sebastian Munoz 59, not quite there. You know, at that 6K range, I should say. Joaquin Niemann's 63. Lanto is 56 and 52. So maybe that works out. Maybe it doesn't. It's up to you guys though. So I don't know. I'm going to look at it. I mean, we had 16 instances where a 1-1 finished inside the top 10, and we've had it every single year. The next would be a 2-1, and it's only happened, I mean, it's happened 6 times, 5 of the last 6 years, and you can see it's our 7th place guy. So in 2019, who was our 7th place guy? That would be Tony Finau. Is that right? That can't be right. Oh, I suppose he was 15. That's why. Yeah. So 15 so 15 from the year before. It's 10 to 15, and then it's a top 10 finish the week before. That is what constitute a 2-1. So let's see who those golfers are in this field. John Rahm. Well, it's pretty much a wash that we're gonna have a 2-1 inside the top 10, right? I think it's pretty safe to say that. And he's the only 2-1. Now, at his price point, and we'll get to this very shortly, his price point, he needs to finish 1st or 2nd, maybe even 3rd, in order to pay off his price. So we'll take a look at that. But just to show you that, you can go ahead, look at the rest of the numbers here. You know, we don't see many 6s. Last year's 6s, we're not going to see many. I think a last year's 6 is a golfer who withdrew. 2018. What is the last year 6? A golfer who did not play? No. 16 to 20. last year 6. 16th to 20th place. That's a weird bucket. 2016? Is that true? Sure. 16 to 20. That is that bucket. Okay. Very weird bucket, but there you go. Your 16 to 20 last would be this last year 6. Now, really, Webb Simpson is probably your best bet that's going to finish there. As you saw, not many 6s, last year 6s, finish inside the top 10. Webb is everyone's favorite. It's a popular choice amongst a lot of people. So perhaps it's a good reason to fade Webb. Maybe. I think so. I mean, we did see a 6 win the tournament. This is exactly Sung Jae's bucket combination, but I do not trust Sung Jae. It'll be interesting to see how Webb does. He's probably going to change that. He's going to be a mold breaker and finish inside the top 10. It'd be crazy if he didn't. With where he's starting out at, you know, he should. But I think that's all I'm going to talk about with bucket combinations, just because it's really not that relevant. I typically go a little bit further down, and I also talk about, you know, like salaries that we've seen over the last few years inside the top 10. But because the staggered start happened last year, a lot of that information's irrelevant, you know, so we're not going to even go there. We're going to go straight into the DK page and talk about basically our favorite plays. Why don't we start with Time Pairings? I think that's how I want to start this. Sure. I don't think. Let me just look at a previous video. Recent form breakdown. Okay. Sure, let's look at recent form. I'm always looking for basically patterns. So one thing I didn't really go over in the last video or the last 2 videos were these numbers here. Now you can see on the screen for yourself what it entails. I have, you know, buckets for course history. I have buckets for recent form. What I will say is, even though we do kind of want to target golfers to have good recent form, it's not a sure shot of it. Nearly is 50%. That one's 75. That one's 80. And that one's 50. So I guess what I'm trying to say is golfers who have a top 10 recent form, or not top 10, but like 20 and under, we're not seeing more than 4 times. 5 times in 2018, 2019, 4. So when you're looking to make your lineups, and that's all I'm going to cover, when you're looking to make your lineups and we're looking at the recent form tab here, you know, let's see how many golfers are under 20. Well, there's only 4. So I'd say you probably want 3 of these golfers, most likely, in your lineup. It's really interesting, honestly. Yeah, salary's difficult. Okay, let's skip what we would typically talk about and just get into salary. I was originally going to do that and looked at the videos of past and we're like, okay, I want to cover this. But over in my left column here, actually, I'm going to skip past that right now too. Let's talk about Time Pairings. Everyone's starting on hole 1, no surprise. And obviously the guys on the top of the leaderboard are starting later in the day. So as we look at the games, you know, you can see it goes by Time Pairing. Sorry, shouldn't have done that. And I've highlighted the golfers that I like the most. Now, I have them all in dark green or a shade of green. The darker it is, the better the grouping is. Like, I really like the DJ and Rahm lineup. Has nothing to do with salary. Has everything to do with their stats, their bucket system, or their buckets. Those 2 I like quite a bit. And also Bermuda stats, that kind of stuff. So you can see one of my favorite groups would be this Hovland and Mackenzie Hughes lineup. And a lot of it's really based off of my sweet spot percentage number, and I will get to that later on. We'll find it at the end what that is, the end of this video, and we'll call it finding the sweet spot, basically. But using the numbers here, adding them together, I found the groups that have the highest pairing number. So Hovland and Hughes, Na and Palmer. Na's not really one of the top guys, but he is one of my favorite guys. Palmer has a ton towards the sweet spot number. Come down here, Finau and Hatton are okay. Not super great, but okay. Kisner and Abraham Answer, pretty low, in all honesty. I can talk about all these guys. Why not? Horschel's going to be a favorite. I mean, his number is pretty high. I mean, his stats coming into this tournament, he obviously, I think he presents the best value. He's really close with Mackenzie Hughes. So 52, 57. My sweet spot number for Billy is 31. For Mackenzie, it's 26. So they, to me, present probably the best value out here. I guess, well, same with Ryan Palmer. Those three golfers, I think a lot of people are going to be using, and for good reason. They have great stats coming into this tournament. But yeah, Kisner, not so much. And Abraham Answer, not so much. Now, Kisner has one of the best course histories. Well, I guess not. I thought he did. I thought he was 3.3. Oh, that's Xander and Billy. I was confusing Kisner and Billy Horschel. Never mind. With that being said, I think Kisner's still a solid play, but the combination with him and Abraham Answer, not very good. Finau and Hatton kind of have like a dud lineup together. Like, Hatton is a good value based off of price, but for real, those guys together, I don't know. I would much rather grab guys here in the 5K range. And then we have Scotty Scheffler paired with Joaquin Niemann, a very high total. Obviously they're in dark green, and pairing these guys up together, I'm not sure if a lot of people are going to be doing that. So I might do that a bunch of times. I do like Sebastian Munoz and Lanto Griffin. So when I was talking about values, like, we're seeing a lot of value here at the bottom. So these golfers, Ryan Palmer, Mackenzie Hughes, Billy Horschel, Sebastian Munoz, and Lanto Griffin, they're going to be highly owned, and for good reason. But yeah, Sebastian Munoz and Lanto Griffin paired together, they're both 1-1s. I think one of those guys is going to feed off of the other, and I like it quite a bit. They're both rookies here at East Lake, so keep that in mind as well. Coming down here, Xander and Patrick Reed, for whatever reason, not the greatest stats coming into this, along with the bucket system. So this number has the bucket system baked into it. Not very good, but I really like the pairing. They both draw the golf ball. They're both going to see the same type of shot shapes into each of the greens. I think, actually, despite the number over here, this might not be a bad pairing. 89 and 85 don't really unlock anything for you at the top of the leaderboard, but, you know, it might be worth playing. We come down here to Rory and Brendan Todd. If you guys didn't already know, Rory his wife had the baby. So if he's playing, he's all systems go. You have nothing to worry about with Rory. And in all reality, Rory would have been my favorite play. I mean, he is one of my favorite plays. It was between him and Morikawa, and I chose Morikawa primarily because I wasn't sure with Rory's baby, you know, when that was going to show up. This number does not reflect my personal feelings as to whom I like, but Rory at 9,700 is actually a very good value for his skill set to come back and try to win this thing like he did last year. I'm gonna play some Rory. I'm not gonna play a lot, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But he is playing with Brendan Todd, and they both draw the golf ball, so they're gonna see the same flights. I mean, I think this is gonna be more helpful for Brendan Todd. You know, watching Rory hit the ball off the tee, he gets to kind of follow. I know Rory can hit it much further than Brendan Todd, but them being able to kind of play off each other to see the same shot shapes, it's gonna be the same for, you know, the par threes. So I really like that. The next one's Sungjae and Hideki Matsuyama. I like Matsuyama, but I do not like Sungjae. And I don't know how they're going to play together. I don't know if we've ever seen them paired together, but they both hit fades, which is a good thing to see. They're going to see the same shot shapes. I just don't know. Like, Hideki is very to himself, and I would say also so is Sungjae. So I don't think they feed off each other. I don't think the pairing actually hurts, but it doesn't help, you know? So they're enigmas by my standards. I just don't know what to do with either of them. I do like Hideki, though. And then we get down to Bryson and Harris English. Bryson does not show up whatsoever. I mean, he's a 2. He's behind, or he's just in front of Sungjae and Webb Simpson. I don't know. I mean, Bryson's obviously a bomber. Harris English is pretty consistent. Maybe his consistency helps Bryson. I don't know. I think they both have the same ball shape. I really don't know what type of shot shape Harris English hits. But obviously Bryson hits a draw most of the time. Anyways, we come down here, and this would be your highest total group together. Yeah, I believe so. We have, yeah, I just want to double check, make sure. Oh, this is your highest group. Lanto and Sebastian Munoz. Morikawa and Berger would be next. They would be your second highest group. I really like Morikawa. Berger has a better score, but I just think this is a great golf course for Morikawa. It almost, in a way, like last week was tough. Last week was tougher than Harding Park, the PGA Championship. And I don't think, so the Tour Championship isn't going to be nearly as hard as it was last week, but it's still going to be difficult. I think this is in the same difficulty level as Harding Park. I think the rough will kind of play similar. I think the yardage is very close to each other. I think there's probably the same amount of trees. I feel like it's nearly the same course, just Bermuda. And I don't know really, I mean, Morikawa doesn't have terrible Bermuda stats. We come over here, he's actually better than Daniel Berger with his Bermuda stats. Both of them are nearly playing the same for 2020. Morikawa has a 28% clip of finding the top 10, as Berger has an 18%. But I actually like these guys playing with each other. I think Berger shapes it both ways, but Morikawa is primarily a fade golfer, but also a very straight ball hitter. So regardless of what shot shape is required, hitting a straight ball is always going to be helpful, and he primarily does. The biggest surprise to me is the JT Webb Simpson group. Like, it's not very close. Like, their total is 10 for the sweet spot percentage. I mean, I don't have an issue with either of these golfers. I'm not even gonna say like my weighting model really is telling, you know, isn't absolutely perfect. It's probably not even close to perfect, but using the bucket system, obviously Webb is a 6'6". We've actually never seen a golfer skip the BMW within the last 6 years. At least I don't remember, you know, seeing that on any of these sheets. I mean, it would be a last week 6, and I believe we've had 0 instances of a last week 6. So really, Webb is in uncharted territories, like uncharted waters. Like I haven't seen it yet. I don't think anyone really has. I don't know if it's going to help him or not. We'd like to think it's going to help him because last week was tough, but we really have no idea. So I guess we'll see. He's the first instance. So although this says a 6, this very well could be, you know, 100% finding the top 10. He's obviously starting at 6 under par, so he's already inside the top 10. Hits a draw, which is exactly what you want here. He's very good on Bermuda. It's exactly what you want. Paired with JT, who's also good on Bermuda. He does not hit a draw, but he can shape in both directions. It's just whether or not he gets that putter going. Really, I think it's for both of these guys. If they get their putters rolling, and I would say this, putting is probably the biggest one. Is one of the biggest components of the game that someone else can feed off of. So if Webb has a hot putter, it should feed off to JT in a positive way. I mean, it really just, it depends on if they take the challenge, you know. But the last group, DJ and John Rahm, I think, I mean, it's not really going on a limb saying one of these guys is going to win the tournament from here, but the odds aren't great, so I wouldn't put all of my money into one of these guys winning, but theoretically, I would put all of my money, or hypothetically, I'd put all of my money into, I'd probably put 60% into DJ, 40% into Rahm. One of these guys is going to win the tournament. And I don't think DJ is going to pull a JT from last year. I think DJ is going to go, he's going to go low. I wouldn't be surprised to see him shoot 10 or 12 under. And if he does shoot 10 or 12 under, really the only person that I can think of that can even catch him is going to be Rahm. I know JT's at 7 under, which is just one less than Rahm. I don't think JT goes 13 under, personally. So I'm probably going to put more into Rahm. So let's go ahead. Let's put some lineups together quickly. I want you guys to see what it'll look like if we were to say, like, let's put DJ and John Rahm together. Since they're playing together, we'd have $5,500 left. Now, if we grab everyone here at the bottom of the barrel, I'm just going to put it here and transpose it. We'd have $5,200 left, which means, that's not the bottom. I'm sorry. Yeah. Salary. Bottom of the barrel. Here we go. I know a lot of you guys were like, wait a minute. There you go. We have $6,800 left. $6,800 buys us whom? Kevin Kisner. So really, if you went John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Kevin Kisner is your highest price guy that you can play before you run out of salary. You know, like the bottom 3 guys on the salary leaderboard are right here. So it's difficult. Now, we talked about a couple 5K guys. Let's, Palmer, great play. Put him on there. Bumps it up to $5,500 a player. I'm gonna put Na together with that because I do like Kevin Na. So now we're at $5,600. What can we do with Lanto? What do we want to do? We want to go Lanto, Horschel. I mean, how about this? The cheapest guy. I think this is probably going to be a popular lineup, but we have $6K left over now. You could obviously put Billy Horschel in on that. So that would be probably my favorite lineup to go with DJ and John Rahm. I actually don't think this lineup is going to do that well. If I were to go back to the bucket system and just look at golfers that finished inside the top 10, when we look at last year ones, I guess the minimum was 2, and then the next up would be 4. So we could play up to 4 last year ones. I just don't know if it's going to be these guys right here. I'll actually put this into a contest for sure. But if I were to really create any lineup, it's going to be one of these two. I'm probably going to start with either of these guys. Really like Kevin Na being kind of my low price guy. And if I were to do this, I'd have $7,300 for DJ left over, and then I'd have $79. And I'm sorry if the camera's flickering. I feel like I keep seeing in the corner of my eye. I'm just not positive. It's always like whenever I turn my head to the side. Does that happen? I'm not sure. But either way, 73 and 79. I really don't know how I feel about that, like trying to create lineups. I think we're still gonna have to grab one more guy in the 5K range. Now, when we look at 2019, you certainly could have done that. You know, if we're going here, we see 66 here. We see Bryson at 55. Ches was obviously 51, so we could grab a 5K guy. Our optimal lineup, though, was a 5-1, 8-8, 8-2, 7-5, 9-5, 10-6. I don't think that happens this year. But I do believe we probably want some 8K golfers. So why don't we, sorry, I'm going all over the place, grab some of our favorite plays from 8K. I mean, I like Xander Schauffele. So, and I also like Brendan Todd. So I'm going to put those guys. Let's see what that ends up looking like. So if I went back to Brendan Todd. So if I put him in the DJ lineup, I have 6,400. And if I put him in the ROM lineup, I have 7,600, which is kind of cool. So let's finish out that DJ lineup. $6,400 left. I am going to grab either Munoz, Horschel, or Griffin. Let's just go with Griffin. He is a 1-1. Do I have any other 1-1s on my lineup so far? I don't think so. Yeah, Na's not a 1. Oh, Brendan Todd would be a 1-1. So this would be a little dicey. Maybe I go with Billy Horschel? We'll see. So Horschel's at 7. I have 7,100 if I go with Horschel. And our best bet would be Tyrrell Hatton. So we'd have $100 left over. I think that's a pretty decent play. I don't think a lot of people really are on Hatton, so obviously it's doable. If we went with if we went this route and we had $7,600 left instead, I would be much more comfortable playing someone like Xander. So then I would have 6,400 that way, and I could obviously play Billy Horschel. Oh, I already have a Xander. Duh. Never mind. But now I have 9,600 left over if I do play Billy Horschel. And that would get me to Matsuyama. Man, I was kind of wishing that would get me to Rory. But if I were to do that, I could have Rory in this lineup as well. And then I would have to go with Lanto, which I have no issue with. I'm sure this is going to be a popular lineup. I would assume so. But I like it quite a bit, honestly. And man, I mean, if you started with DJ, you really can't do much. If we wanted a DJ and a Rory lineup, $6,200 is what we would have left over. Now, I like Na, so I can put Na down here. And we have 6,500 left over. Now, obviously, choose your favorite golfers. We could go with a Tyrrell Hatton. Put in either, why don't we do something a little different this time for our 1-1? We could put Joaquin Niemann at 63. And then we have 6K left over. Sebastian Munoz or Billy Horschel, right? So I think Billy Horschel would probably be the best bet. Now, if I was to kind of go and try to create a lineup that we had last year, I would start with Colin Morikawa. I'd go Morikawa. I'm going to put Na in there because Na is our Ches Reavie from last year. So I'd go with Morikawa, and then I'd actually go with Xander, in all honesty, if I remember correctly. And Xander was your 8K golfer last year. I just want to double check on something. So I think, what am I trying to find? So Schauffele had a 43 and a 19. Guess we don't see that until Tyrrell Hatton down here. Which really, Tyrrell Hatton could be the Xander Schauffele we're looking for. It's just that Tyrrell Hatton hits a fade. Xander's always hit a draw. Has hit a draw. So how about we put Rory here instead? So we have 8,100 left over. Go to our 2020. I do like Berger. Berger is playing with Morikawa, so that works out perfect. So now I have 7,600. Like I said, Tyrrell Hatton could be our Xander. Now we have 83 left. I think that's got to be Brendan Todd, right? Could be Scotty Scheffler. Could be Tony Finau. Maybe I'll put Scheffler in there instead. Now I have 5 last year ones, which I'm not really too thrilled about, honestly. Let's go ahead and put a Tony. There you go. So we do something like that. Kind of like that lineup quite a bit. I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing Kevin Na. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this video. So hopefully, maybe I would have got you guys on some good players. Kevin Na, again, is my my Ches Reavie from last year. I'm probably going to live and die on Kevin Na. I'm going to play several lineups. So if you guys aren't doing this, I'd strongly suggest it. So if you're going to cross out some players, go ahead and create a lineup. One really good lineup that you think, you know, does really well. So if I'm going to play Kevin Na in a lot of my lineups, I might as well play him with golfers I'm not going to play. Because you still want like 2 or 3 golfers that you think are going to do well. So like maybe I'll put a Tyrrell Hatton, you know, to go with Kevin Na. Or maybe I change that out and go Billy Horschel, who's going to be like a very popular play this week. Why don't I do Lanto? I'm gonna go ahead and put Lanto here. So now I have 9,000 left over. Easily can go Rory. Easily can go Xander. And so these are golfers that I like. Now I can play one golfer that I don't necessarily like and I don't want to play. And go ahead and select like Sung J M. I'm not going to play any Sung J. So I could do something like that. And then I have crossed out Justin Thomas. I've crossed out Sung J. I don't have to worry about playing any of those guys. I've left 1,100 on the table, which is pretty good. This might be just my sole Justin Thomas lineup. So I suggest most of you guys go through. I don't know how many lineups you guys create, but for the ones, like, go through here and X out golfers that you know you're not going to play. So like, you know, as you go through, X out, and then just play one lineup with them in it. You know, maybe I X out Harris English. I'm not sure. I'm probably not going to play any Harris English, which, yeah, I might as well play him in one good lineup. So Harris English in that last one, I could actually replace maybe Xander. And then now I have JT, Harris, and Sung Jae in there. And again, I like Rory, Lanto, and Kevin Na. I mean, I think that works out pretty decent. So I think you could go that route. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the sweet spot percentage number. This is baking in course history. Shoot. I want to get rid of these numbers. There we go. This is baking in recent form, course history, tee to green, as well as the bucket system. So that has everything baked in. You can obviously see all the last year ones, or see all the last year ones are up here. Most of the last week numbers you see are low numbers, which are good. But here are the sweet spot numbers. Brendan Todd leads the way. I'll probably play quite a bit of Brendan Todd at 7,600. Pretty decent. Starting out at 3 under, that's a decent number. So that's the sweet spot number. Trying to find the sweet spot. That's what I'm going to go with looking at this. The last little piece of advice that I'm going to offer is we're trying to score the most DK points. So I think we can look at results from previous years. Course history is probably a good one to go by because no matter what, regardless of the starting score, you're still going to want to play golfers that make a lot of birdies, that make a lot of eagles. This is a tough course, so I don't really see many eagles or birdies being scored, but it's doable. You want to play scorers. Who do you think is going to play better? Now, obviously, there is the mental aspect of golfers trying to play from behind. If that's the narrative you want to go with, do it. I think a lot of these golfers are probably just going to play normal and see where they end up at the end of each day. I don't think many of these guys are going to be pressing, so I don't think we really have to worry about score, like the starting score. We want golfers that we can predict doing well. So I think that's where the bucket system actually plays kind of a bigger, like a bigger benefit. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to end the video. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All right, see you later.